Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB bikini pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. So before we dive into another awesome episode, I just want to say thank you guys so much. Thank you to those of you who are always tuning in every week, and thank you to those of you who are tuning in for the first time today. It means so much to me when you guys share it or connect with the athletes or just give feedback to me. It's really incredible, and I love what we're creating here. And I do want to let you know, if you didn't know yet, every single episode is sponsored by my business, and that is Celestial Fit International, and my mission is to help others build more than just a body. And I do this by aligning inner work with physical results. So what that means is that I emphasize the importance of self-love, confidence, mindset, behavior change modification planning, and well-being development all coming together with the proper training and nutrition so that you can have the most freeing, empowering, and healthy lifestyle. So every time you tune into an episode and every time you hear from these athletes and every time that you're able to share this, you are helping and supporting my mission and helping others to build more than just a body. And that is why I want to say thank you, because this is such a cool thing for me. This is something I love to do, and knowing that you guys love it as well really helps me to see how beneficial starting this podcast has been for you and for getting that message out there, because even elite athletes go through this, right? So now it's time for another episode, and thanks again for tuning in. I cannot appreciate you guys enough. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and I'm super excited about this episode as we will be hearing from Katie Kerner, previously known as Katie Miller, who is a pro that's been competing for 7 years, personal trainer specializing in 8-week fitness challenges online. How are you doing, Katie?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm awesome. I am so excited to have you on. And I actually was talking to some of my friends yesterday about how I'd be interviewing you today. And they were like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. And so obviously I have a lot of questions for you, and I'm excited to dive into that. But before we even go there, I just want to ask you something that I ask everyone who comes on the podcast. And that is, what is the one thing that goes through your mind, or some sort of ritual you do right before you step on stage?
Well, first of all, I wanted to say I'm excited to be on your podcast as well. So thank you for having me. But so the one thing that I do is just I try to close my eyes and I breathe out really slowly. It sounds really funny, but it always works for me.
Hey, you gotta do what works for you, right?
Yeah, definitely.
That's great. And so you've been competing for 7 years. You earned your pro card after 6 years of some serious dedication, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a long time coming.
Oh, yeah. How many shows did you do before you earned your pro card?
I earned my pro card at my 13th national show.
13th national show?
Yes.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Did you travel a lot for those, or did you go to the same one a few, or I guess you wouldn't have gone to the same one, but I guess multiple ones a year? Tell me a little bit about the shows that you did.
Yeah, I did. I've done every national show. The ones I did most was more nationals, North Americans, and junior nationals, just because they were easier to get to for me.
Totally. That makes sense. So, 13 national shows, you finally earn it. What's that feeling like?
It didn't really feel real. Like when it was happening, I like was kind of in a daze. I was such a long time coming that I was like, I don't even really think this is happening. And then it kind of hit me when I was in the Uber ride back to the airport, and I was like, holy cow, like this just happened.
Oh my
Um,
God.
yeah, it's crazy.
That is crazy. A lot of people, I don't think, would have had that persistence and that perseverance that you had. And you recently mentioned in a post that you actually started to feel a lot more pressure as you grew in the sport, specifically as you continued to do well at national shows. And you mentioned that this was kind of hindering your ability to have fun and flow. And now that's your main focus. You've taken a good off season to focus on your happiness and getting out of your own head, right? So I'd love to just hear you talk about how you got your mindset back to where it needed to be. Like, what were some of those shifts that you felt needed to happen before you decided to compete again?
Well, I I kind of like coached myself underneath a friend who was more like a mentor for years, and then that drove me crazy because I handled all my own diet and exercise, and I was constantly being like taking so many selfies, like, am I ready? Am I not? And so I hired a coach in 2017, and Damian Segovia of Pro Physiques, and that changed everything. I got out of my head a lot, and then he taught me a lot about recovery that I need to go to get soft tissue work in order to make my muscles look right and pop out from being so locked down. And so like just everything kind of like meshed together, having like a second opinion that I never had, and then kind of losing my train of thought here.
That's
um,
okay.
but yeah, and just like taking, like you said, taking this off season is everything. Because I mean, I was just feeling so mentally exhausted, and the minute you feel that, you need to take a break because your head's just not going to be 100% in it, and you're not going to do well, and you're not going to do it for the right reasons if you're feeling mentally exhausted and worn out.
Mm. Yeah, and I think a lot of competitors will keep going, regardless of the fact that they know that they don't feel like they're, excuse me, 100% in it. And then they go through that whole, like, I'm burnt out, I don't want to do this again. And then that can lead to things like a really poor reverse or improvement season, right? And I know you used to struggle with reverse dieting, or, you know, you used to go up a lot more than you now sit at. Now you're able to maintain about like 7 pounds from stage weight. So what do you think helped you the most to get to that point? And if you don't mind sharing, what are some of those tangible action steps that you took or that you can give other competitors that will help them to do the same?
So I was always the girl that like, I was like, okay, I'm going to reverse diet the show. And then like post show came and I wanted to eat everything. And so that all changed when I hired a coach. He I had someone holding me accountable. Like I had to check in with him every week, and somebody was analyzing my photos every week. So I had to be on my A game if I didn't want to be embarrassed. And I mean, he works with like Olympians, like he's worked with like Courtney King, and so I'm like, I have to be on my A game. So he like the first 6 to 8 weeks are crucial in the reverse diet. If you nail those, you can really, really kind of do whatever you want after to an extent. Like you can't be going crazy, but like you can be extremely flexible and um, finding what works for you within that reverse diet. Like realizing reverse dieting is about consistency, not perfection, like contest prep is. If you mess up one day, that's okay. Just walk it off and just get right back on it the next day. Don't treat it as a free for all week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I like what you said about consistency, not perfection. It's different than prep that way. I always talk to people about how I find like the thing that helps me so much is just setting a new intention. And so, what would you say is like the biggest difference for you between your preps and your improvement seasons?
Well, I'm pretty crazy during prep. No, just kidding. um, but so I would say I'm like 150% on prep. Like every single macro is being tracked. Whereas on off season, or like if I have a whole thing of like a whole cucumber, I might not track it. Like little things like that. Like it sounds silly, but like all those little things add up during contest prep that you got to be on top of. I do a lot less cardio in the off season, and I eat more and more cheat meals. I don't really do cheat meals during prep anymore.
And is that just because you want to like keep it like clean, perfect? What's the reasoning for that for you?
My coach had me on like higher high carb days versus cheat meals, and during contest prep. So I'll do just like regular calories and then a high carb day every few days. And that's just like a different approach. Whereas some people are like low cal all week and then a cheat meal on the weekend. But I'm more high carb day every few days during prep. But I personally love being like normal linear calories all week and then have a cheat meal on Saturday. So that's what I do in the off season.
Yeah, you normally like have like a free day, right? Where you don't track. I mean, obviously you don't go crazy, but you just don't track, right?
Yeah, and that's something I definitely worked with Damien for like a good amount after my show, but then I kind of did my own thing. He knows I'm a seasoned competitor. Like I've been doing this forever. He knows I can like maintain without him. So I just kind of do my own thing, and then I'm gonna get back with him when I'm ready to prep. But uh, I do an intuitive eating day. Like you said, I don't go crazy, but I kind of just listen to my body. Like if I wake up and I'm like starving and I'm craving pancakes, I'm gonna have pancakes because in reality my macros are pretty good right now. They probably fit in my macros a good portion regardless. And then I'll do like a cheat meal at night.
That's really great.
So something Yeah, so it's like just like the cheat meal is just like a bigger calorie meal that probably wouldn't fit my macros that I don't have on a normal basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually like really a good thing, huh? Because we need to have some sort of mix up because our body does adapt pretty quick. And so ways that we can combat that is like some days having higher protein intake, sometimes having lower carb intake, higher fat intake. So I think by doing that, you create some sort of response within the body that's actually more helpful than hurtful. And then from the mental aspect, it's actually really powerful too. And I remember, like I told you before we started this, I have been following you for a long time, and I know that you've transformed so much, not only physically but also really mentally. At least I've noticed this, and it appears to me that even your relationship with food has changed so much over time. I know you made a post around like your birthday about things you believe in and how you view things. And I would love for you to kind of explain to the people listening, like, what would you say has been the biggest thing for you mentally with your relationship with food, or how would you describe it?
Yeah, I love that you asked that because that's a huge thing. That's like I've completely changed. And I would, I mean, this comes back to the reverse diet. Being on top of my reverse diet, finally hiring somebody to like reverse diet me. So like, I just always like when I was doing my own stuff, I like just always wanted to be like leaner, faster. So that's like less calories, way too fast than what I needed. So I was never eating a decent amount of calories. Because of that, I was being unresponsible. So when I hired somebody, I finally was able to reverse diet to like a regular decent amount of calories. And that completely changes your relationship with food when you're eating more on a regular basis. And then you have your cheat meal. You don't have the feelings of wanting to eat everything because you've been fed the whole week. You don't need to like make up for all those lost calories throughout the week in your cheat meal. And I guess that's my biggest advice. And then just also flexible dieting. It really changed everything, because if you're randomly craving like ice cream in the middle of the week, like you can have it, but it's just, not going to like nourish you on a normal basis if you have it every day.
Right, absolutely. And I think that there's a lot of obviously controversy around like flexible dieting versus the bro diet versus like a combination of these things and intermittent fasting and keto and whatever, right? And something that I
Yeah.
love is that you keep it real. You say like it is, you express what it is that you're doing and why it's working for you from not only physical, like in terms of getting your physique goals, but also for life and living. And if flexible dieting is what helps you, then that's great. But something you just said that stands out to me is you said like it's not going to necessarily nourish you, right? But it's like hearing that craving. So
Right.
were you not flexible dieting before? Like when you were doing your, like, are you only flexible dieter? Does it change on prep? What's that like?
Yeah, I flexible diet on prep, but on prep I tend to eat more whole foods just so I fill out more. Because I'm the kind of person that I like to grow into my prep. That way I can maintain a leaner weight in the off season, if that makes sense. So the whole, like if I'm eating, I mean, to be honest, I do eat some processed foods like right now, because I love my sugar-free pudding and rice cakes and cereal and Halo Top and you name it. But during prep, I probably wouldn't go crazy with that. I'd probably limit that to like every day instead of like having like sugar-free pudding every day. And like, so it fills me out more, because the wholer foods are just going to make my muscle more dense. So yeah, flexible dieting, but more whole foods in prep.
Totally. I think also like the whole foods make you just feel fuller as well because you have like a different amount of volume, because sometimes you can get like so much more out of like
Yeah.
yeah, you know what I'm saying. It's just like it really makes you feel more satiated, so you're not as hungry later. And plus, like there are responses that come from having processed foods that occur in the brain where it tells us, hey, I want more sugar now. Hey, I want more carbs now. And then on prep, you're already cutting to the point where sometimes it's difficult if you're already experiencing those desires to eat more food to then have more of that on top of it can definitely be challenging.
100%. Yeah. And when macros are lower, you have to stick to whole foods,
100%. And you are always sharing a lot of valuable posts about how you've changed your physique. I know specifically your legs, but you know, judging criteria has given you a lot of feedback that helps you to, build your workouts and training programs in your off season. And you're always reminding people that everyone's different. But you're a businesswoman as well, and you run online challenges and you devote your time to in-person clients. And so, what do you think is, I guess, the key difference, or what is it that you think is important to teach your clients that separates it from competition and lifestyle?
Like the major difference. You're asking the major difference.
Yeah, like if you had a client come to you who didn't want to compete, just wants to transform their lifestyle, how would you coach them differently than how you take yourself through a competition prep if it would be different?
Yeah, it's so different. And like if my clients have a goal to like cut and they want to like get somewhere, by a certain time, it is going to be a little bit closer to a competition prep style program, but there is going to be obviously more flexibility because they're not getting on stage, and we don't want to take their body fat that low. We're not getting on stage. It's not healthy. But the major difference is probably they just follow like a very similar protocol that I follow in the off season, unless it's not working for them. And that's when we, kind of take a look at what's not working with them and why, and then we'll tweak things until we find like an approach that works for them, because everybody's different, and not just physically but mentally. Like, I personally need that break on the weekend, and that keeps me sane. That makes me 100% on my macros during the week. And I have some clients the same way. Whereas I have other clients that completely distract them. They want to be on all whole foods, like meal plan, no macros. So I don't know if I'm really answering your question.
No, you totally are. Like, everybody is different. I experience the same thing. Like, sometimes I have clients who come to me, like, I give them options. You know, it's like, okay, well, you can do like meal plan only. You don't even have to think about numbers. You can do macro based, or you can do a combination of both. But it really just comes down to finding out that lifestyle pattern that's going to work for you versus like in competition prep. It's like, for me, like, I've never done flexible dieting for competition, or even in off season either, really. But like with competition, it's like I'm following a very strict meal plan, and then I just do exactly what my coach says. So it's very different in terms of like the focus, for sure. And like you said, it's not healthy to get down to like a certain body fat. But you know, you do, like I said, you run those online challenges, you devote so much time to your clients. But I kind of want to dive into you as a businesswoman. So what do you think is the most beneficial part of social media for attracting your ideal client?
Well, Instagram, like, so I've always been a personal trainer. I train clients in person until noon, from 5 a.m. to noon most days. So Instagram, it created my whole online business. Like, I just started posting, and I wasn't an online trainer, and I wasn't sure I wanted to be, but then I kept getting inquiries like, hey, do you do training? And like, hey, like, this is exactly what I do. Like, I personal train people. My degree is in exercise science. Like, why am I not doing this? And so it just kind of took off. And then like my experiences with coaching myself over the 7 years have really, really been a huge help to helping. But I would say, like, you know, social media, it's free marketing. So it is hard because it's like, you know, my social media became kind of like a business. And so I have to balance that with like, I still want to appear as a real person, but I don't want it to be too businessy, but I don't want it to be too personal and distract people. So it's just kind of hard with that.
Yeah, I can relate. I mean, I was at the Olympia this past weekend. I was talking to someone about how no matter where you are at in your stage, in terms of growing like a following online and Instagram, if that's for growing your business or just for growing a brand or growing as an influencer, no matter what, it requires energy and lots of it. And I can only imagine what that's like when your following starts to climb at a rapid rate, or at any rate at all, where to the point you have thousands and thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people following you, and more than likely messaging you about coaching or about some sort of product they could use or you recommend. So I'm sure that you get a lot of that. And how did you manage that growth, and about how long, like, because I imagine it was all organic, or I'm not sure, but how did you manage all of that?
Well, I was on Instagram, like, I feel like long before it was oversaturated. And so I feel like I was probably one of the bigger, like, more like, I was one of the bigger pages back then before it was oversaturated. And I grew my following from posting shredded ab shots and competition photos. So, I mean, that kind of hurt me in the long run, because right now, like, it is all organic. I've never paid for followers ever. You like, that's the dumbest thing too, because then your engagement rate goes down if you do that, or you see people like that. And like, my engagement rate, I wish it was bigger, but if I'm not posting shredded ad pictures or competition photos, how I grew my following, I'm not going to get that engagement. So that's just kind of one of the problems I deal with having that following, because I did grow it before it was oversaturated, and when I was posting like all these crazy shredded shots while I was competing.
Yes, totally. So now you're like attracting a different market, and they are not the same people that were so attracted to maybe like the shreds, which
Yeah.
is definitely something that you're gonna, that's like a struggle, I imagine, like every single day, like, okay, how can I reach more of the people that I want to help and work with, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of like growing my page all over again, but then I'm getting ready to switch gears and be in contest prep in January. So then it's like, okay, well, all my hard work I did to switch target markets is gonna flip. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, totally. I always find there's like that fine line that we got to dance on as competitors where it's like, okay, I need to stick with my, well, competitors and online trainers, where it's like you got to like balance between, okay, here I am in doing something kind of extreme versus, okay, here I am as a coach who wants to help you achieve a healthier lifestyle. And
Right.
that's sometimes challenging because you're no longer able to have that flexibility. So to talk about it and show it, it's different because now you're so focused on competing. That's what you want to post about and talk about. So um, what would you say is one of the key contributing factors to the growth of your presence online? And I honestly think that your engagement, yeah, maybe it could be higher, but I feel like the people who follow you and who interact with you, like, really truly love you. I just wanted to throw that in there because you are being so real and you are who you are. So I think that's awesome. But what would you say are some of the things that attributed to your growth, not only like the shredded pictures, but just, from a business perspective?
Like what contributed to my growth of like followers? Is that what
Yeah,
you're asking?
yeah, exactly. Like followers and people who actually were like, okay, I want to hire this girl for my 8-week transformation.
So I think, well, in 2015, I posted a picture before junior nationals, and it went viral. Like, I mean, if you looked at my tagged photos and you scrolled for 10 minutes, it would be that picture during that time. Like literally, like probably like 5 pages up and down, scrolling through my tagged photos on Instagram.
Big.
It was that picture. And so like, I wish I would have, well, and that's another reason. If a picture goes viral, you attract a lot of people who just see that picture, and then it's like not like actually like people that are engaging with you. But yeah, that was like the big thing. I mean, that took my followers from like probably like 50 to like 100.
Dang.
And I'm not even kidding. I mean, that's probably exaggerating. And but something crazy. But then also for the 8-week challenges, I think it's just referrals. Like that's how that grew. I try not to market it too much because I don't want to be like too aggressive. But I think just people talking and their experiences with it and all that kind of helps that grow too.
That's really awesome. And to everybody listening, like, there's probably a lot of people on here who are online trainers or who are growing some sort of online business or who just want to become an influencer and share their message and share their ideas. And I will add that you are sharing value, like content that helps people. And I don't think that you'd be where you are if you were just not sharing helpful content. So I personally appreciate it. I'm sure a lot of your followers and people listening do as well. So now I kind of want to just dive into a little bit like what's your mindset going into this next prep or this next season? Like when are you planning on competing? What are some of your goals? Fill us in on that.
Well, thank you for that compliment.
You're
I
so
haven't been able to say thank you.
I know I
um,
always do that. I like keep going and then I'm like, oh, here's the floor.
it's okay. I didn't want you to think I was like ignoring it.
You're so sweet.
But like this prep is going to be different. I'm just going to kind of I'm going to listen to myself more and not like try to like do what so-and-so's doing to like look exactly a point. Like the best preps I've done is I've focused like solely on myself, and like it's like the Hunger Games trying to get points for the Olympia. Like I am just gonna go into it and just try my best and have fun and, you know, compete as a pro.
That's awesome. I love that mindset. I especially like that you're like, I'm not going to concern myself with what so and so is doing, because people get caught up in it. I was on the bus next to this girl, and she was, oh, I hope she's not listening. But anyway, she was talking to me about how like I should follow all my, you know, all the people I compete against or who are in my class, and start watching what they're doing if they're winning, and start
What?
going, yeah. And I was like, you know what? Like, I was like, I don't need to copy them. I got to do my own. Like, I'm different from them, you know?
Yeah, that's so distracting. You know, you like, that's the worst thing you can do. It's so bad to get in that mindset. Anytime you like even get in like a thought in your head, like, oh, I want to follow this girl because I think she'll be competing at this show, like just like stop it immediately and like, you know,
Right.
start doing something else.
It's so detrimental. Like, it's easy too, because people go on like the show's page and see who's tagged, who liked it, who commented, who's competing, and people will ask, you know, do you know who you're competing against? It's like, why does it matter? Like, whoever shows up isn't going to impact the work that I have to put in regardless.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like you have no control over it. You know, someone can walk in and you didn't know they were going to compete, and that's is I think is better if you don't know what's happening when you go into it, and you just go in, focus on the fun and the experience, and doing it for you and doing it because you
Hello.
love it. All right. I think we have good connection now. So we were just talking about how it's definitely better to have fun with it, right? And like focus on ourselves and the journey. And so is that's like your main intention going into this next season, right?
Yes, definitely. Like going in as a like new pro, you have nothing to lose. So it's just better to have fun with it instead of like stressing yourself out.
Yes, I love that mindset. And just hearing you say it too, it's like, oh, that's such a like breath of fresh air, because it's so easy to get caught up in the journey and in the, especially like if you're a new pro, it's like, oh my gosh, getting caught up in that title. And I know some of my friends and teammates have just recently earned their pro card, and I know they feel a lot of pressure, but it's definitely not necessary if you just focus on, like you said, having fun. And so I would love to
Yeah.
know, like, what would you say is your advice for new competitors or competitors who are hoping to go pro?
For new competitors, make sure you have a coach that knows what they're doing. Having somebody guide you, even if you know what you're doing, will just help take some pressure off you, take some relief off you, so you don't have to like really think as much. And then people that are looking to go pro, I would say, just, you know, I don't even know, because like this was such a long time coming for me. Just, you know, don't give up. Like keep going, because the judges are going to recognize you, and keep doing what they ask. Like Sandy told me, my like 9 times out of 10, like me placing runner up was usually like my tan stuff. And so like we worked really hard at making sure my color was perfect for my show at North Americans. And then I ended up going pro because my color was so good at
That's
that show.
crazy. I'm like, what the heck? I understand why the judging has to do that, right? Because everyone looks their best. They're on point. But then like to be placed second and be so close and be judged over your color is just so, oh, I could imagine
Well,
like
so it took away from how I looked. Like a lot of the times I have this crease underneath my glutes, and a lot of the times the tan would settle in that crease. So then it would take away from how tight my glutes look. And you like yeah, like when you're playing like the top girls in the nation, the girl with the shitty color. Sorry, I don't even know if I'm supposed to swear on
no,
this.
it's okay. I mark all of them explicit because I don't know if I drop anything either.
Okay. Yeah, it's just the tan can really take away from your line.
And did you always go with the tanning company that was at the show?
Yeah, and like I just have it wasn't the company. I'm just really fair, and so like I didn't hold the color well, and then like sometimes I would turn green because I didn't do my I didn't use the right scrub before I got my tan, and all that.
Dang, yeah, the details matter, huh? So, obviously, this was a really great episode. You shared a lot of your value and content, and I want everyone to be able to say thank you and to recognize you for that, and also just be able to connect with you further. So do you mind letting them know how they can get in touch with you, where they can connect with you, and just learn more about you and what you have to offer?
Yeah. Well, you can find me at my Instagram. I'm the most active. It's K and a T, like the letters, Miller Fit. And then my website is Katie spelled out millerfitness.com. Those are probably the two places I'm the most active. Not very active at Facebook. It's more of like a personal page, and then I have a YouTube page, and I've been meaning to like start making more updated posts on it. So that's under Katie Miller Fitness as well.
Yes, so go subscribe so that you're more motivated to make those videos for us. That'd be great. I think you should definitely do it, even just the behind the scenes. Like, it's cool, but obviously, energy goes where focus is, right? So I'm excited, whatever it is that you decide to put out. That's awesome. I appreciate you taking the time to come on here. Everybody listening, all that information from Katie about where to connect with her is going to be on the show notes page. So you can find that at celestial.fit/podcast. And of course, please make sure to rate, review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And be sure to comment letting us know what some of your main takeaways were from this episode. So thank you again, Katie, for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And to everybody listening, please have a wonderful rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world while you're listening to this episode. Just make it awesome.